Hi, Sonia here with your intuitive tip of the week, and I am so happy to be back. It's been a little while since I've done one of these because I have been hard at work doing all sorts of different things. I started a new podcast with my mom and sister called It's All Related, which we talk about intuition and family and what it's like to live an intuitive life, which has been such a blast. I've been hard at work on redesigning my new website, on my book. I'm doing a group course. So stay tuned for some big announcements that'll be coming soon. If you haven't already, you can go to my website, soniatully.com, and get my intuitive toolkit. You'll get a workbook that'll help you to anchor in these exercises, some of my favorite to help build your intuitive muscles, and a guided meditation to help us listen. And who doesn't love a good meditation? Like, I love meditation, especially like guided ones. I'm like, oh, wow, just on the path. But in our video today, we are going to be talking about navigating as a sixth sensory, which is basically having a connection to your intuition and using that as a way to navigate in a five sensory world. That's basically people who have not any connection with their intuition. So I've gotten this question a lot, and I've gotten it a lot with my clients where it's like, I have a really strong connection with my intuition, with my spirituality, with this whole, my innate GPS system. But when I try to talk about it with my friends or my family or my partner, they just don't get it. And then it makes me feel cuckoo. So I'm going to share a few tips with you because I, having grown up in an intuitive family and having done this forever, I know the feeling. I know all the different times. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've been at a dinner party or in conversations even with parents when I was a kid, having to explain something that they just didn't get and making me feel like unseen in one way or another. So first, let's start with some basics. So intuition is the act of deep listening. And instead of listening to words, we're listening to vibration. And it doesn't come in through our heads. It comes in through our bodies. It's a vibration. It resonates. We feel it in our heart, connect to our gut. That's why I said I had a gut feeling. I knew it. Something was off. And it's because intuition picks up on what's below the surface. It picks up on the subtleties that our intellect misses. See, our intellect is meant to be in service to our intuition. It really helps us to organize the world around us. And the thing about our intellect is that it goes from A to B to C to D. It doesn't have any access to creativity. It doesn't have any access to anything that's not linear. There's a really great Albert Einstein quote that I love that says, what is it? It's logic will get you from A to B, but creativity will get you everywhere. And I always think of intuition as or creativity as a faculty of intuition. So in talking about this and in navigating this, first of all, we have to start to recognize and affirm our own intuition for ourselves. I remember when I was first moved to France and I would go dancing by myself and I would be like this American girl. I speak French and be like, oh, hi. And the French love logic. Like they are very logical. They love a right way to do things. There's a school of letters. There's a school of dance. There's a school of everything. So there's a lot of rules and a lot of emphasis on the intellect. So I am meeting these new friends and they ask me what I do. And at first I tell them I'm a writer because like the French people, they like, love a writer. It's like, I'm in. And then later we're hanging out and they're like, well, what do you write about? And I'm like, I write about intuition. And then all of a sudden there was this one guy, Hugo, who showed up and wanted to debate me. He just started asking me a million different questions. And I am so down for curiosity, and I think it's important to be curious and see what feels good, but it wasn't a place of, hey, I'm curious, but prove yourself. And the thing about intuition is because it's something that's resonant and doesn't come in through the portal of the intellect, it's like trying to explain the internet to somebody who only gets access to AM radio. So we're in this back and forth, until finally I was like, I feel just crazy and I'm feeling super stressed out and I'm not having fun. And I actually just said, I need to change the conversation. It was a big red flag for me of like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm trying to engage his intellect in a way of trying to prove myself instead of giving myself some options. So now I have a few things that I have in my toolkit that I use all the time when I'm dealing with people who aren't available or really that curious. And instead of wanting to be, learn from each other, they want to like basically tell me that I'm wrong about my other. So the very, very, very first thing that I would say is your vibes, your guidance, your connection with your intuition is the most important person that it matters to is you. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify. You don't need to answer a million different questions. One of my favorite lines that I say all the time is, well, let's just change the subject. That's cool. If you're not into it, totally. Why don't you tell me something about you? And just pivot. It's a good way. I've actually had other times when I've done that and people have been like, wait, but like, hold on. Like, I want to talk to you about intuition. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Like, you're not that into it. It's not your thing. That's totally cool. However works for you, works. So first of all, when we know what is our truth, and when we have that as the tone, we set the vibration. And instead of asking for permission or approval, we shift our value system to inside out instead of outside in. So one, don't do it, no matter what. And you can say no. It's a really great way to practice a boundary. Two, the other thing that I'd say, lead by vibration. The thing is the more that you have your own connection and your own knowing with what works for you, it actually shifts the conversation and shifts the experience. So it's not let me prove it to you, but more of this is something that works for me. Three, another one that I really love to use if somebody's like real on it, I'm like, I have tons of books and resources if you want to check them out. I'm like, I wrote a book. You are amazing if you want to learn more about it, but there's tons of resources out there. You can totally go do it yourself. And my favorite tool of all is to use humor. See, a lot of times when we try and engage, somebody comes at us hot with their little ego intellect that says, prove yourself. Our sweet little ego intellect shows up and it wants to protect us. It wants to protect our sweet spirit. It wants to validate what we know to be true to someone else. But then we get into something that my mom always taught me was a dogfight. We are going from ego to ego, from role to role instead of soul to soul. So we can actually just shift that conversation by just having a sense of humor. And when we can use this as a way of play, we actually drop out of our super tight headspace and into our heart space. That is our power. That's our availability. That's our connectivity. And that's how we can change the whole flow and the whole conversation. But the most important thing, you don't have to explain yourself. Connect with your humor, use your spirit, give people different resources. Always give yourself an out because it's your spirit and your connection and everybody gets to do what works for them. And that's the great thing about being an empowered person. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you enjoyed these tips. Leave me a comment. Tell me what is your favorite way to help engage people in their own play or change the narrative or your favorite moment ever, anything. I love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, check out my podcast. It's all related, and definitely go download your spiritual toolkit. You'll love it. it'll just be another really fun, wonderful way in which you can be supported. So I'm sending you all my love, all my love. You are a beautiful angel, and I am so grateful that you're here. Bye.